Let's get cooking.
So I was making eggplant parmesan. So that is the eggplant that you can see me holding. I cut off the top, and then I peel the eggplant completely. Once the eggplant is peeled, it's time to cut it into slices. You don't have to be specific about how big they are. You just have to make sure they cover a complete 9 by 13 pan. So I cut the entire thing into not thick but not thin slices. This is about how many slices I have. Next that's egg and 2 teaspoons of water and breadcrumbs. Then I sprayed the pan with olive oil cooking spray. So I dip the pieces of eggplant in the egg mixture and then into the breadcrumbs, then place them in the pan. Do that for every piece. I could do it with my hands, but it gets a little messy, so I usually use a fork. Next is the hard part. This is probably the part I dread most, and it is onions. Usually I just do 1 yellow onion, but this time I did 2. And as you will see in a moment, I start crying because of the onions. Some people say yellow onions don't make them cry, but they still make me cry. It just takes a while because I'll have to take a break because I start crying so much. So that's why I hate the onions. As you can see, my eyes are starting to burn a little bit. So I peel the onion first, of course. They are burning pretty badly. There were actually a few times that I really started crying bad, but I don't think I have that on film. And as I cut the onion into small pieces and put them in a skillet with some olive oil. After they are cut into small pieces, you can see the size I saute them, just until they start looking brown, pretty much so. That didn't take too long. And you can probably hear in the background it's starting to sizzle some. can see here, it is sizzling a lot, and they have turned pretty much brown. It is almost time for the next step. So here's the next step. I pour 2 cans of petite diced tomatoes into the onions and saute that a little bit as well. I also add 2 tablespoons of sugar to that mixture and then stir. And make sure it gets stirred up really well and that the onion and tomatoes all look even pretty much. And the burner is still on while I'm doing this to heat up the tomatoes a little bit. Not that they necessarily need to be heated up, but it's just the way I've always done it. Y'all can see it's looking more even now. Just making sure it's completely even. Making sure the sugar gets stirred in all the way. Because I don't want a bite that is full of sugar. I want it evenly distributed. Once it starts bubbling, that's when I go to the next step. So what I have done, it's hard to see, but I have now poured the mixture on top of the eggplant slices that are in the 9x13 pan, and I just try to even it out as best as I can and flatten it down so that it's all even. Now we go to the last step before it goes in the oven. I sprinkle at least 3/4 of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese on top. This time I did a little bit more. I just want to make sure the eggplant is fully covered in Parmesan cheese for when I stick it in the oven. For garlic bread. Next, I'm making some garlic bread. I tried to tell y'all what I was doing as I was doing it, but it's kind of hard to hear. So, you have to have country cross butter. You must. That is a must. Because it's spreadable and just delicious and wonderful. Sometimes I even have regular bread with just plain bread with butter. Not even toasting it because this butter is amazing. So I'm about to put some on a knife and say it looks beautiful, just beautiful. And then I spread a pretty good amount on every piece of bread. I had about 8 pieces on a baking sheet. And so I cover those with butter. A lot of butter because I love butter. After I cover every piece, I get some garlic powder and I sprinkle it on top of all the pieces of bread. I sprinkle actually a lot because I want to make sure it's garlicky because it's supposed to be garlic bread. So I sprinkle it pretty good on top. And I set the timer for the eggplant for about 30 minutes. And so y'all can see, and this is the finished product. I've cooked some pasta, some noodles, and put the eggplant on top of the noodles. I forgot to show y'all cooking the noodles, but you just follow the instructions on the box. Thanks for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed.